This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched Little Man. A wannabe dad mistakes a vertically challenged criminal on the lam as his newly adopted son. Let's watch.
Vertically challenged?
That's the fucking... that's what it has.
I feel like we do accents more than most people a lot of the time. I just feel like since I met Claude, he's like, wow, you're really good at accents. And I'm like, I do a lot of accents in my day-to-day life.
We both do a lot of voices. I know I do a lot of accents and voices and stuff just as a, you know, off the cuff.
Off the cuff. That's my snake accent.
Yeah? Well, hey there, Sammy. How's it going? Tell me about your day, Sammy Snake.
Well, I'm a snake.
Oh, come on. Fuck off.
I go around doing snake things.
You set up... You really do, yes, but...
No! And yes. How are you, Michelle?
In a lot of ways, I think I'm feeling surprisingly good, given that last time I was working this many hours per day, this many days in a row, I was doing quite poorly. And so on the one hand, I'm tired because for most of the last few weeks, it's been a 10 to 12 hour day followed by another 2 to 4 hour day and then getting home and finishing off work and going to bed. And yet I actually feel okay. Like, I feel like I'm in a good enough mood. I mean, to be fair, all of today I felt kind of dizzy and sore and weird. And I was like, I don't know. And then every time I drive into work, I feel like the world is ending and that there is no point in pursuing a future. But then I arrive to work and I'm like, I guess I'll just do my job, which is an odd emotional state to be in. But I think I feel good, all things considered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're grinding, you're hustling.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things I'm grinding aren't paid or aren't paid for a while, so it's not like I'm raking it in. But I do have enough income for the moment, and that's good. That's fine. Good. You know, how about you? What about you? Are you fucking swimming in fat stacks of gold?
I'm not like financially responsible by any means. I feel like this is the year that I would actually like to look into how money works and how I can have more.
What the fuck?
Yeah, look, I'm 26. Oh, God, that's new.
I heard you self-correct.
Yeah, that's really painful. Oh, I'm 26. I should learn how to not just conserve my money, but make more money out of the money that I have. That's a very normal thing for people to do, and I've never really fully looked into it, and I'm disappointed with myself.
We're similar people, and then sometimes you'll say something that makes me go, yeah, we did have different upbringings, because there was no getting away with being casual about money in my household.
Money, money, money. I'm turning into a woman. I'm gonna get married. I need to figure out my fucking money.
You're not turning into. You are. You're
what?
A fully grown woman.
What?
You are a fully upgraded woman.
Oh,
you're fucking. You've hit the level cap. You now are woman. You can prestige eventually into middle-aged woman, but for now, all of your upgrade slots are now open. Your class abilities have been assigned.
This can't be it. I'm gonna go to bed tonight and look at myself in the mirror and be like, "Is this me? Am I you?"
I mean, I have that all the time, but for a whole host of different reasons.
Oh, same. Body dysmorphia on the reg for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's that?
Who is that?
Sometimes I see photos of me and I'm like, who is she? That's not me. That's not the woman I've cultivated in my brain.
Yeah.
I'm scared when I get photos taken of me. I'm like, what if I see something, like an aspect to myself that doesn't fit with that image? So it just fucks with me for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Oh, dysmorphia and dysphoria, whilst obviously different, like there's a lot of overlap in how that manifests. Because I have the same thing of like, if someone takes a photo of me, I'm like, am I going to notice something that is then going to make me want to cry when I go to sleep tonight?
Exactly. Same. Am I going to see something? I'm just going to fixate on this tiny flaw in my appearance. And so I'm going to think about it for the rest of the day and think that my self-worth is shattered because I don't like look a particular way that I think is important in my head.
Yeah.
It fucks you up. I could talk for hours about like how like basically as a girl I was fed terrible body image standards that still fuck me up to this day. I'm 26.
Yeah.
As mentioned prior to this. And I still struggle with shit that I thought was acceptable when I was like 10 or 11. It's still stuff ingrained in me that I can't really ever... I know I can get rid of it, but it's a lot of unlearning to do. And I hate the fact that instead of changing what we pump into the media, we are expected to just grow up and get over it.
Yeah.
Despite being taught from a very early age that this stuff matters and that your worth as a person hinges on these things.
You ingest awful social standards when you're younger because that's what is being fed to you. And it's not as easy as just like recognizing that it's harmful and then you're over it. It takes much, much, much more than that.
100%. You can't just be like, oh yeah, that is fucked up. I'm cured. It's still an inherent thing within your deep subconscious that you subscribe to. And you still feel bad about things that you don't need to feel bad about. And you'll still get insecurities that aren't really relevant. It really fucking annoys me that, again, the onus that we put on, it's more, instead of changing what we are pumping into like newspapers and magazines, we're just trying to change people's perceptions of what we consume instead. Being like, yeah, you'll still read that stuff, but just believe it's wrong, you know? Like, just know that it's not true. And it's like, well, stop fucking feeding it to us.
Yeah.
It has to go both ways. I feel like it's always the onus is on the individual to overcome the shit that is out there in society. I know that we can't just change these things. It's a very gradual change to get rid of things like this, but I'm annoyed that we live in this world that is teaching us these things, but we have to overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of dismantling the way that we try and individualize the responsibility of overcoming every social pressure. Oh, if every single individual person undoes all damage, then we'll be... No, there's social structures.
100%.
And the social structure is way more important. If someone 10 years ago, when they were in high school, I don't know, like...
100%. It's like, think of like the like environmental issues. The fact that like a lot of the time they're like, if you just change the way that you recycle, reduce your carbon footprint, do all these things at home, we could overcome climate change. We're not going to talk about the companies that are responsible for the majority of environmental issues.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to take money from people that have money. We're going to ask you, the poor individual, to fix the world's problems one by one.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
We actually need to collectively, as a group, make these big changes.
Yeah.
It's going to be... guys, it is going to rock your shit how much more capable we can be as a large group of people. It's fucking wild. But speaking of things that are fucking wild...
Oh.
This week we watched Little Man.
Hey, it's me. I'm the little man.
I'm the little guy.
I'm the little guy.
I feel like we always do that voice, but we're actually doing Linda Litsky, aren't we? But she doesn't say, I'm the little guy. She says, I'm just Linda Litsky.
I'm always quoting that bit from fucking Portlandia, where Fred Armitage is playing that guy being like, hey,
That's
it's me.
what it
I'm the
is.
little guy.
That's
I'm
what
just
it
a little
is.
man.
We always do that, and
Yeah.
I never remember what the source is.
It's that one obscure skit in Portlandia.
I always think of that very, very famous Tumblr post of the, hey, I'm just a little guy. It's my birthday. You wouldn't hit a birthday boy, of how that guy gets out of fights. I'm obsessed with it. But then I hate when people like repost it as if they're original for showing people. I'm like, this is like 10 years old.
Yeah, people that screenshot old Tumblr posts or find them and then repost them, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing reposting this 2011 Tumblr text post thread? Who are you?
I think it's good that like 15-year-olds, I don't know, those things are part of internet history and like 15-year-olds can rediscover them. But I hate when people are like, I am the curator and I will show you a post that was mega famous 5 years ago. You're not being clever. You're just distributing content. And I hate on TikTok when they're like in the corner of it because they're just sitting there and they've on their phone recorded nothing, but they've insisted on making it face them so that their face is in it, and then there's just a giant screenshot. I'm like, why are you there?
Have you seen that fucking guy on TikTok? I don't even know his name, but he gets like, his whole account is that he's pointing up. He's put himself in front of a fucking text post or a meme, and he points up at it and he reads out and he laughs. Have you seen that guy?
Oh, the guy that does the really fake laugh?
Yeah, he's like, oh my God. He like reads it out and he goes, and all these people duet it, just being like, that guy's fucked. That guy has no integrity. That man is hollow.
I love it when people like, I think this is, that's how we discover the limits of TikTok, which is that most other social media platforms are based in text and imagery. And this is the first one that is primarily video as opposed to tangentially video.
Yeah.
And what that means is when people want to share just an image or text, they have to have a video. And so some people insist that the video has to be them going through the emotional journey that we would.
Yeah. As if they'd just first read this meme, this text post. Some people have made like little TikToks emulating what this man would do, and that he'd find the meme, read it, kind of go like, and then he would get the video ready, record it, fucking crack up laughing, and then it'd cut back to him stopping the video and rewatching it and like editing it. It's so meticulously like. Now
my hope is that he sees some of our social media and then comes to listen to the podcast going, this is going to be really funny. And then we just hear us tearing into him.
Now we are on TikTok under rating descending. So let's see if we can track this mother down.
Guys, tag, what's his name?
I think I could make music.
I think I text this every second episode. We sing a lot on this podcast.
I reckon I could easily make music. I just don't know how to play instruments. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's going to be your first problem.
I know, but I can hear it in my head.
Well, like, then you can sing it out. I know how to play instruments.
Okay, there we go. All right, make this.
It's kind of jams.
I am the man who comes to play. I sit on my bar stool. That's all they say.
This is pretty...
I could... Easy. Done.
All right. Just another take right from the top. All right. Just clean take. Another one. All right.
Right.
Beep. All right. Another take. Another start again. Start again. All right.
All right.
Now, all right. Another take. Another take. All right.
All right.
All right. No,
this is ridiculous. I'm an artist. It goes to 11.
You were an artist. But you know what was an artist? Little Man, and we're not talking about it.
I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah.
I want you to know that when I finished Little Man, I went, Jesus Christ. And then I just closed my laptop. That's what I did just earlier tonight when I finished watching it. I wanted to drink wine to ease having to watch the film. I was like, I don't need a glass of wine, but I'd like it for this. And I was like, no, I'm just drinking to subdue the pain of watching this film. That's not healthy. That's clearly not healthy.
It's not healthy. If this podcast turns you into an alcoholic, I'll be pretty sad.
I think I'm on the cusp of anything turning me into an alcoholic. I think
oh my God.
Well, we'll not get into it.
We should talk about it.
Nah, I'm kidding. It's definitely drugs that are the issue in my life.
I mean, I understand that reaction. In some ways, I think I liked it more than you, but I want to clarify that I did not like this.
You're going on record.
This was not a good movie.
This was a frustrating fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's get it up front. Because I couldn't find any specific info online, but I'm fairly sure that the Little People community do not appreciate this movie.
No. Just to check, is the correct term Little People?
So I knew but wanted to double check just in case. And a lot of the stuff is Little People is the most widely accepted, but also like with any sort of subgroup, there's different terminology from region to region and culture to culture. It's like how we have different terms for various disabilities here and in the UK and in the US. But Little People is like the most widely used one. And then almost everything I read about it would cap it off by being like, but most of the time, just call us by our name, which I think is both true, but also
Not the question.
in the context we need it for.
Yeah.
That's why I was looking for a little person.
Yeah, just to clue in any listeners here that haven't watched this film, which I'm sure is most of them, this film is it's a Wayans Brothers film, and
Yeah.
Marlon Wayne, I'm pretty sure that's his name, Marlon Wayans,
Yeah.
is CGI'd to be a little person.
No, was it Marlon Wayans? Yes, it was. Sean Wayans was the one who wasn't. Yeah. Sorry, I just couldn't remember which was which. Yeah, Marlon Wayans' face is superimposed onto a real little child.
Was it a real little child, or was it a little person?
I'll get into it in the trivia. But yeah, it's a Wayans Brothers movie, which also, like, I'd already heard of the Wayans Brothers.
I mean, White Chicks.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Scary movie.
most people. Well, okay, but with Scary Movie, this is the thing I didn't know about the Wayans Brothers, because, like, I already knew of the Wayans Brothers and the Wayans family. Damon Wayans Jr. is a new girl intermittently. So I was like, what's the actual dynamic of this family?
Yeah, what's the extent of the Wayans family?
So there's the grandparents, whose name I can't remember, the first generation. And then the actual, like, ones that went on were the four brothers, which was...
Marlon?
Well, the four brothers were Damon Wayans Sr., Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Who directed this?
Yeah. And then Sean and Marlon Wayans, who are the Wayans brothers. And then there's a sister whose name I can't remember. I love
women, am I right?
I love the fucking gall of Sean and Marlon to go, we're the Wayans brothers, the two of us.
See ya.
Us two Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
Constantly working with their older brother,
The
Keenan.
audacity.
Yeah.
The audacity. I mean, when I was a kid, I was familiar with them because of Scary Movie and because of White Chicks. And I have to say, I'll admit to it. I'll cop to it. I loved White Chicks when I was a kid. I thought it was so funny. Every time it was on TV, I would make sure that I watched it.
Yeah. I think it did. I think it's one of those movies that it's like, there's a lot you could say to unpack its social problems, but it's also something that at the time kind of was trying to undo social problems in some ways. I don't know. Like, it was such a strange flash in the pan movie.
Look,
you can't hold it to
as
any
a white
standards.
chick, I claim oppression here, to be honest. I have to say. Yeah. It's hateful, it's discriminatory. It just, like, I'm a blonde white woman and I'm allowed to be upset. I will use my tears as a weapon.
Oh boy.
Against the black community.
Well, what I didn't know when I was looking it up, that we haven't even gotten into the overview, but Keenan Ivory Wayans, because of Scary Movie, was the black director with the highest grossing movie for quite a long time.
Nice.
Until he got beat by someone I can't remember. But I didn't realize how much Keenan Wayans constantly worked with the other Wayans brothers who declare themselves the Wayans brothers. I also didn't know that Damon Wayans Jr. was a younger generation. It's just that Sean and Marlon are like 10 years younger than Damon Wayans. Yeah. So I didn't know that. And then this movie also has Kerry Washington and John Witherspoon again.
What else was he in?
He was also in Vampire in Brooklyn and also in Soul Plane.
I was wondering what he was in. So we've got another recurring actor. We're really tallying them up.
Well, there's also, I was about to say Tracy Morgan, who was in 2 episodes ago. No, he wasn't. I just kept referring to him.
I love Tracy Morgan. I actually do. But it's just because of Tracy Jordan.
Yeah, same. John Witherspoon, I think with 3 appearances, does that make him so far the most recurring person?
I don't know. I have to do the tally because I think there is another person that's is the third time recurring in this. There's also another person in this that was in a different... the girl, the woman, Carmen from...
Brittany Daniels is
Brittany
her actual
Daniels.
name. Carmen is the name of her character, and It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing her pop up again, I was like, man, you really had a little moment in the late 2000s.
Did. She really did. I just don't think she exists post 2010.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
Well, I mean, apparently she has a twin sister who was an actor when she was a teenager and then retired from acting. And then Brittany Daniels started acting, and it's so weird that they sort of swapped.
Sounds sus.
Very
Sounds like
weird.
Brittany had a really bad career as a teenager and she was like, I'll just claim it was my twin and I'll start a new one as an adult.
I like that.
We're on to you, Brittany.
Yeah.
Don't fucking try us.
Brittany, once again, playing the role of hot blonde woman with tits.
Yeah, that's it. And her belly button is always showing for whatever
The
reason.
full extent of her character in this and Skyline. And
Yeah.
John Witherspoon was once again old man with a very distinct speaking style. I don't know how to describe his like almost sort of semi-stuttery speaking style of John Witherspoon, but
Yeah.
he is every single time the best part of all of these movies.
For sure, he's a standout. I really enjoyed any moment with him, to be honest. Just like as brief, like just touching on overall impressions of this film, because I feel like I haven't, because been taken away by the cast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this film was like nightmarish to watch. Like it was 1 hour and 37 minutes, and I was counting down every damn minute of it. I was like, I feel like I've been here for 3 days. This is shocking. It took about 20 minutes to get to the point where he becomes he's an actual baby.
Oh yeah.
And you can launch into the overview so people can understand what the fuck happens in this movie.
It does repeat the recurring problem with these comedies of taking way too long to get to funny jokes.
Yeah, way too long to get to funny jokes, but also like the whole premise of the film is that Marlon Wayans is a little person, but he poses as a baby to get a diamond that he lost.
Hey, don't step on my overview.
But it took 20 minutes for him to become a little baby, and I was like, too long.
Yeah.
We should be there 10 minutes in at most.
Yeah.
What's the overview?
All right. Freshly released from prison, jewel thief Calvin Sims meets up with an old friend and starts a job to steal a large diamond for a mobster. When the job goes wrong, Calvin stashes the diamond in the purse of a nearby woman. Following the woman home, Calvin finds that she, Vanessa, and her boyfriend, Daryl, are arguing about whether or not to have a child. Because Calvin is a little person, they plot to pretend Calvin is a baby left on the couple's doorstep so that he can sneak in and steal back the diamond. Finding that they can't give the baby to anyone, they decide to take care of baby Calvin. Whilst Vanessa's friends and father find Calvin's antics strange, Daryl tries his hardest to be a good father, and Calvin in turn starts to grow fond of the family. Eventually, Daryl discovers Calvin's secret, but the mob, having grown impatient, have tracked them down. Calvin saves Daryl's life, and in return, Daryl agrees to not turn Calvin over to the police. As the two emotionally try to part ways, they instead decide to become best of friends.
Good overview.
I think that was a good summary. That's basically all that happens.
I love how it's like the whole film is about like dads and sons, the way that like Daryl really wants a kid, which is quite a cute like arc for him. It's nice to see there's a couple and the dad really wants children and the woman's like, no thanks.
I actually really enjoyed how when we see them arguing about it, he's the one who's like, no, baby, I really want a kid.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I'm busy with my job. And I'm like, this is interesting.
That was actually really nice. And I really liked Daryl as a character because he's just so obsessed with being a great dad.
Yeah, one of my other notes, like his actual like sincerity, and it's not played as a joke.
No.
I don't think a single time it's ever played as a joke that he wants to be
he's like
dad.
really cute and cuddly and sweet, and it's not a joke at all. That's just who he is.
His genuine sincerity in wanting to be a dad and be an affectionate father and be a good father, and again, like affectionate.
Yeah, he comes in being like, hello, choo. He's like a grown person doing that. He's a grown man.
Again, it's not a joke. The joke is just that it's not actually a baby.
Yeah,
and like. It's really endearing, and I really liked Daryl because of that.
Yeah, and also like it's that, and then there's also Calvin who has issues with his own dad, and he gets really upset because they want to throw Calvin a birthday party, and the real Calvin is getting emotional because he never got a birthday party as a kid. And at the end, he's like talking about his issues with his dad, and Daryl's talking about wanting to be a dad. Yeah, that's kind of nice. The not so nice bits were definitely like the rapey bits where Calvin really wanted to fuck Kerry Washington's character and kind of forced her head down to his crotch to give him head. And then also when she thinks she's had sex with her husband, but really it was Calvin in bed fucking her. That was weird.
Yeah, this, when I was going to put on Wayans brother comedy Little Man, I wasn't expecting such rapey vibes.
Me neither.
It was also like shockingly horny as a movie.
It was really
front
horny.
to back.
Also, like I was shocked to see it was Kerry Washington. I was like, you are better than this.
Yeah,
I really like her as an actress. She went from Broomhilda and Django to fucking.
I mean, other way around.
What year was this?
This was 2006.
That is earlier than I thought it was.
And this might also change your opinion of it. This was made for $64 million.
Oh.
This isn't some little movie. This is a little man.
How much did it gross?
100 million.
So it's not a great profit, but it's not the worst.
I mean, I guess once you include marketing and all of that, sure. But I mean, for a 2006 comedy, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm sure that also on home video, they made back all that extra profit.
God damn.
Like that, when I realized that, I was like, that kind of recontextualizes a lot about that movie.
But also the CGI,
Oh my.
which we have to talk about.
Yeah, for $60 million.
Superimposing.
Not great.
Yeah, the CGI of superimposing Marlon Wayans' face onto a little person was shockingly bad. It looked like his face was rubbery, like it was moving away from the body, and it was like a mask flapping in the wind.
I think tracking technology, digital tracking wasn't quite there.
No.
It was weird though, because I feel like in some of the slightly further away shots when he's like also like being turned around, I was like, oh, this is actually fine. But then as soon as it was like a mid shot of him, it would look like a weird, bad YouTube video thing.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like also this was part of an era around the mid 2000s where they just figured out how to put someone's face on someone else's
It seemed
body.
like it was a fresh technology.
Yeah, it was real wishy-washy sort of VFX, kind of like deep in the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Unpleasant to look at. Whoa, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Just to what we're talking about before, like it being $60 million made one particular thing make sense to me, which was the music. Because that's why I was shocked that it was so horny. Because it would be like the music of like a family comedy. Yeah. Like a late 90s Jim Carrey sort of thing. It would be like
it
that.
It has that little like mischievous music playing where it's
Yeah.
like do and like someone's like prancing around on their tiptoes in the house doing something. They're up to no good.
Like The Pacifier or Liar Liar, like that sort of genre of like a comedy aimed mostly at children by a studio. That kind of music. But then the joke would be that Calvin is like in someone's tits going,
yeah. And
I'm like, what? Who is this for?
This is not charming. Yeah, the target audience was really skewed and muddled because it seems like it'd be a kid's film, but there's no actual kids in it. So it's not a kid's film.
Yeah, the jokes aren't kids' jokes.
No.
But also, like, I don't think it would be a very good stoner comedy because it's
too like
played
it's too
straight?
Hollywoody. Yeah, like stoner comedies are kind of edgy.
Yeah.
You know, like Tenacious D is a stoner comedy and it can be quite edgy in a lot of ways. But like Harold and Kumar, Bill and Ted's as well. Like proper stoner comedies usually end up being buddy films.
Yeah.
They're usually buddy stoner comedies where they're going on some trip or odyssey.
Yeah.
It's not about a person pretending to be a baby in a house. That's not a stoner comedy.
If I was high, that would freak me out.
Yeah, can you imagine watching this film on acid?
Oh my God.
By the way, there's this Reddit thread of people that are on acid showing things that they are getting wigged out by on acid. Usually it's just photos of their own hand and the caption is, "What the fuck?" I have to send it to you.
Sounds great.
Or it's like a photo of a cat with like a long face or something. It's amazing.
Yeah, if I watched this on acid, I don't think I would recover.
Yeah.
I think I would be firmly convinced that Marlon Wayans was actually a baby.
How would it feel being in the Wayans Brothers duo and knowing that you, Marlon, are like the goofier, uglier one, taking all the comic relief roles because Sean is the much more hot, attractive guy playing the straight, romantic lead all the time?
But that's the weird part, is that Marlon Wayans is also the one with the most dramatic success because he was also in like Requiem for a Dream.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's not a goofy character in it.
He's always in Wayans Brothers films playing the goofy role. That's what I know him from, at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really funny. I think maybe that's why he was like, no, I'm serious. Everyone's like Sean this and Sean that.
It must be hard to be like, you're the ugly one, so be funny.
I actually, in a recurring theme, I actually don't know if he is thought of as the ugly one. I don't know if that's is that a popular sentiment?
Sean
that everyone's
is
like,
definitely
oh,
like,
Marlon, the ugly one.
Well, Sean is definitely like the hunky brother out of the two of them.
Sure, okay.
He's ugly.
And neither of them are my type. I don't know why, but that really reminds me. Because I was mentioning the music before, and there were two other sound things that I really liked. One was there's that scene around the midpoint where Daryl takes Calvin out like to the park. And the bit is that like they're out at the park and they're going to play catch, and then Calvin throws the ball right at his nuts and it hits him in the nuts, and then like a music cue plays that's like da, 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 da. Like it's just like a music, it's not a sting or a bong, it's just like a da, 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 da. And then it like stops, and then it's like, okay, now let's really play catch. And then he sets it up, and then he throws the ball straight at his nuts again, and the exact same music cue plays again. And he's like, oh, man. And then later in the scene, he gets hit in the nuts a third time, and the exact same music cue. And there's something about the third time that I was like, I think it's really genuinely funny that they kept reusing that music cue in a way that I don't know if it was intended, but fucking so strange, so bizarre.
There's definitely some questionable scenes. The highlight for me was definitely when they're at that hockey game, and basically the baby Calvin, like a fight breaks out, and Calvin launches himself at a hockey player, and the hockey player pulls him off and is like, control your baby, man, and then throws Calvin on the ground and just stomps the shit out of him. And then the dad, Daryl's like, hey, and it's a hard cut to like Calvin in bed, and then Daryl basically being like, man, maybe I'm just not a good dad. And it's like, your child, what you perceive to be your child, your baby, just got beaten up by a hockey player, stomped by a hockey player, and you're like, maybe I'm not cut out for parenting.
By the way, I didn't mention in the overview, they take him to a doctor, and the doctor is unable to recognize that it's a grown man. Yeah. Because they even like look into his mouth, and they're like, they put in a crown. This is the dental set of a 40-year-old man. He has a tattoo and also a scar from a knife fight. Strange baby.
Yeah.
And then just signs him off.
Again, this film felt like it was 3 days long. I've withered in the process of watching this.
My main problem is it really loses momentum in that second half.
It really does.
I do feel like the first 20 minutes is taking ages for the main thing to happen, but then it feels like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then it really just loses fucking steam.
This film has like barely any structure. Like I think it knows like the vague notions of structure, and that there has to be a climax, and there has to be like a final fight between the mafia, that we need to like resolve the conflict. But that's as far as their knowledge of structure goes. There was no midpoint.
Yeah.
When he became a baby, that was like the closest thing to like and not even an inciting. It was the first act turn where he became a baby, and that was too fucking late.
Yeah. A lot of these movies have had a real washy second act, and it confirms my long-held theory that it's not the first act turn or the second act turn. It's the midpoint that is maybe the most important structural touchstone in a movie. Because that's what makes it feel like the movie's progressing. Without the midpoint, a lot of the time it just feels like a couple of things are happening.
Yeah.
There's no sense of progression. There's no forward momentum. It is just some things that happen along the way to the ending. Yeah. Which also means you could cut out the whole second act and have effectively the same movie.
This film was so grim. Like, this is the kind of bad film where, like, instead of bitch slap, and I think it's a very different kind of bad film to bitch slap, and that bitch slap is, like, everything you'd want in a bad film.
Yeah.
It's, like, stupid and schlocky and fun. And this went on again for like a week. It was a marathon to watch. But it was the kind of bad movie where really it just highlighted the kind of trash that we make and pay to see. And it makes me sad. Like when I think about the kind of people that would pay to see this film or enjoy this film, it makes me sad. It makes me weep a little bit. And I'm just going to say that out loud. Like I am going to make that very judgmental claim. There are just people that make me depressed.
That's
and they would watch this movie.
Brutal.
And now I'm one of them because I watched this movie.
I feel like I had a much better reaction to this movie than you did.
Yeah.
I still don't like it, but wow. To pick you up, do you want to hear some trivia?
Fuck yeah!
IMDb trivia.
So I couldn't find a huge amount of trivia because I couldn't find the two things I wanted, which was interesting things about the production or the actual reactions of like any sort of commentary from little people. So I just picked the two most interesting things I could find. So the way that they did the effect of Calvin is the scenes with Calvin were played twice. Once by 9-year-old actor with dwarfism Lyndon Porco, together with the other actors, and once by Marlon Wayans alone with a green screen. In post, they then superimposed the images onto each other. And here's the bit that I thought was the weirdest. Porco's body was painted brown in order to match Marlon's face.
Oh my God.
But also, this movie is like they made it. I don't know. I don't think it's my place to like.
Yeah. For sure.
I think if like they
Tread carefully here, Michelle.
like they if they thought it but it doesn't sound great.
No. It's we shouldn't.
We're two white women from Australia. I don't know if we should wade into
I don't-
these most muddy of waters.
We're not going to wade into the Wayans waves.
It
Yeah.
didn't need to be assinistic.
And yet, I pursued. I came. I conquered.
Oh.
That's the new phrase. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely not our place to say.
But it doesn't sound great.
It doesn't. I'm not. What's the next bit of trivia?
The basic plot of this movie is actually taken directly from the Bugs Bunny short Baby Buggy Bunny. In the short, bank robber Babyface Finster, who is very short, masquerades as an orphan baby to recover his loot from Bugs after it falls down his rabbit hole.
Ah.
Yeah, which makes sense as a way to make fun of Babyface.
So even this shitty film didn't really have an original premise.
No. I mean, I also don't know if I couldn't find anything clarify whether they said, yes, we got this idea from Bugs Bunny, or if somebody else just noticed that they were similar and they're independent ideas of a grown man is pretending to be a little baby.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting that somebody else had already done that premise, and in a way that sounds much more palatable. Yeah. I mean, I used to fucking love all those old Looney Tunes cartoons.
I never really got into Looney Tunes. I never was really like, I never watched it as a kid.
Oh,
It's
man.
never shown to me.
I adored them. I had that for a while, Cartoon Network, because I had Foxtel because my mum wisely thought that as a single parent with two difficult children.
She needed a co-parent.
Yeah. For a while, Cartoon Network had like a spin-off one of Boomerang, and it was just all the old cartoons, and I was obsessed with it. So there was all like the old
nice.
cartoons, all the old Hanna-Barberas, like Johnny Quest and fucking the Pink Panther, the Snagglepuss is his name, and
You're lucky. You got the good
like
end of like
fucking
old cartoons.
Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner and Daffy Duck. I've
fucking
watched
got-
so many of them.
All we had on free-to-air TV was fucking Batfink, and that shit sucked.
Batfink is maybe the
bat
worst,
senses are tingling.
easily the worst Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Incredibly awful. Like, incredibly awful. Children are very discerning, and you can really tell what's engaging and fun. And Batfink, every time it came on when I was like 6, I was like, fuck. It's Batfink for 10 minutes. This is the worst.
And Wacky Races. And I remember you showed me the actual like Blake Edwards Great Race.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this just fucking Wacky Races? And you were like, what the fuck is that?
Yes. Yep.
And then we found out that it was based on the movie.
No way.
But that's why every time there's like a trivia thing and they're talking about like American Gen X cartoons from the 80s, I'm like, I know cartoons from the 60s and the 2000s. I don't know.
That's it.
I don't know the in-between.
No, you don't need the in-between. From one to the other.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some reviews?
Yes.
Reviews!
So I got a handful of IMDb reviews because the ones for this movie were batshit. This first one's Too Funny by Gullwing1. We laughed from the beginning to end. The kids picked it, and I did not know what we were going to see or who we were going to see. It wasn't until after the movie I found out that these were the guys from Major Payne and White Chicks. The movie was more entertaining fun than many of the so-called funnies, and then in brackets, flops, starring Ben Stiller, Jim Carrey, and Adam Sandler. Just goes to show what type of brains are in charge of the industry and ratings. Generation Lost. Give this one a shot. Don't read the reviews. See the movie. Brings back the old SNL crew days. The acting and script were in sync. The plot was original. Life is not that serious. Remember, laughter is the best medicine. 10 out of 10.
Beautiful.
And here's another one called It's a good movie, just stupid fun. By Afia Catherine. It's all caps. Trust me when I say half of the reviewers on here haven't seen the movie. First off, this movie was funny. It was slow at the beginning, but as soon as little man got into the house, it was non-stop laughs.
Got into the house.
It may seem immature for some, but if you liked movies like Happy Gilmore, Dumb and Dumber, or a number of others, you will love this.
Actually, not true. Dum Dum is the best.
You don't need to be a certain race to understand it.
Oh, boy.
You can be white, black, Puerto Rican. It doesn't matter. The jokes apply to everyone.
The 3 races.
It was
Tag yourself.
It was slightly offensive, but overall is a good popcorn flick. Sadly to say, a number of people have judged this movie mainly from watching the previews, which is a mistake in this case. So believe me when I say big things can come in little packages, as
boy.
with this movie.
Oh, boy.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I love, as you said, the 3 races, white, black, and Puerto Rican. America, you absolutely understand race-based classification.
Well, it's a melting pot, isn't it? You know? It's a real, like, multicultural, globalized country.
I mean, sure, race isn't even... like it's literally century-old, outdated
I actually
bunk
don't
science.
even see it, so...
That's... okay.
Yeah.
But I also love that they brought up Happy Gilmore when the last person was, like, way better than Adam Sandler. And here's the last one, and I just took one grab from it. Movie was funnier than expected by Banditech 19. Is it just me, or does everyone think that this movie was bad? Which is totally wrong, because this movie is more than good. I rated it for 9. But hey, that's just me. 10 out of 10.
That's stupid.
What was your review? Was yours a 9 that was actually a 10?
Look, slightly lower. I hated this film a lot, and it brought me no joy. I'm condoing it. I'm giving it a maybe like a 2.4 out of 10.
Okay.
2.2 out of 10 feels good.
Okay.
2.2.
From how much you hated it,
You thought lower.
Yeah.
I hated it, but I still found it watchable.
Yeah.
I did. It went for a long time, but I think I was in a very bad emotional state to deal with Marlon Wayans getting superimposed onto a little person.
Yeah.
So 2 out of 2.
Yeah.
No, 2.2 out of 10.
Nice.
I'm done. What's your rating?
Well, you know what? It hit a lot of my criteria. It was a movie. The cinematography looked like a professional shot it. It felt like it was a full studio movie. Like, it didn't feel like a cheap piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? That's... Here's the thing. Last week with Bitch Slap, we were like, this is the movie... I made the list... This is the movie we got into this for. But for me, this is also it. Because when I used to host the Let's Watch Bad Movie Night, my specific thing was I always wanted it to be like minimum $10 million budget, because I'm so fascinated by this, which is a studio movie that is just so clearly bad and faulty from the start that I don't know how it got through that many layers of approval. It really gave me the same vibes of Junior, in that it's just such a clearly odd, strange premise to give that much money to.
Yeah.
It's much slower and less interesting than Junior, but I don't know. Like I said, I think there were some parts of it that I was like, this is just such a weird, interesting choice. If it was maybe less horny and did more with its second act, I would rate it higher. As it is, I'd probably give it a 3.3. You know, I thought comparatively on this list, it's all right, which still is low, but, you know, it's fine. And that was Little Man. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod, or on TikTok at RatingDescending, or you can even email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com.
You can also find us personally. I am on Instagram under Abigail J. Ward.
And me? I'm just a girl on Twitter at Michelle.St.Clair.
And don't forget to drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. It makes a difference. It helps your buddies out. It makes us happy. It makes us sing for joy. Tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. You know, like the meme.
That is
kill me.
probably the best indication, more than saying our ages, of how old we are.
Kill me.
Well, now that we are finally done with the 200s, what are we watching next week?
My God. Next week, we are watching the film The Shaggy Dog, and it is 199. We are in the hundreds, baby.
Ooh, it's a new era for the podcast. Let us
It's a new
blossom.
era.
Bloom.
We should dye our hair or do something radical.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of growing into a shaggy dog.
Ow!
I already smell.
See you later.